So in the last video I made a review on Resident Evil 4 Remake and gave it a 10 out of 10. It was a great game. But today I'm going to be ranking all of the bosses from easiest to hardest. So spoiler warning for the entire game, and let's jump in. At 14th place I have Martinisha, the test subject. It's not, out of all of these bosses, it's not really a boss. It only has a chase scene that you have to run away, and then you have a QTE segment, and because of these things it's not really difficult. There's no difficulty in this fight, so of course it goes to the bottom of the list. In the 13th spot I have Garrador, and for some people this probably is gonna be a harder fight, so it would be higher, but for me I just went around him, shot a sniper bullet at him, and after he started doing his hit animation I just shot him a couple more times and he died. So I wouldn't even consider him a boss fight, but some of you are, so I'm just putting him in there. At a 12th spot I have Delago, and the fight is very fun, but in terms of difficulty it doesn't bring much. There is no really any obstacles that it provides. All you have to do is just hit your shots with the harpoon and you will have no trouble with this fight. And the 11th spot I have the normal El Gigante, and I think the fight is the first fight that is actually has some difficulties. You do have to dodge quite a few hits, and the El Gigante can throw a building at you that at least I always get hit by, and the fight is quite long. You need to open up his parasite and then hit it enough times to kill it. The dog will come to help you, but in terms of the fights, this is the first fight that actually can cause you some difficulties.
Sorry, big guy. Can't let you go that way.
At a 10th spot I have El Gigante from the Separate Ways DLC. It's basically the same, just now there's actually buildings that you can grapple on top of, which El Gigante can break, and because of those buildings, El Gigante is more of an aggressive now, so if you actually don't utilize the buildings it's more of a difficult fight, and the buildings add more strategy and complexity to the fight.
Now you owe me. Luis, heads up! Now we're even. Is it always like this with you?
At the 9th spot I have Dos Gigantes, and you may be thinking I have something against the El Gigantes, but not really. In most games, when you have the same boss fight but now multiple, the fight is much harder, but not in this case, because you have Luis that really distracts the boss as well, so you can usually take them one by one, and now you have an added hole that if you time it right or knock down the El Gigante in the middle and then open it up, you instantly kill them. So even though yes, the Dos Gigantes, the duo, is harder than all of the other El Gigante fights, they're not difficult enough to be higher on this list. In the 8th spot I have the Black Robe, and I'm talking specifically about the second encounter because it's the same as the first, it's just more harder, and the fight wouldn't be maybe as high, but to me the fake clones of it and the teleporting actually makes the fight more complex than the others. And there's nothing more to it, it's just the whole mechanic is more complex and difficult than the entries below. In the 7th spot I have the Verdugo, and it's one of my favorite fights in the game. It has a lot of HP, the fight is quite long, but the moment you understand that you just need to freeze him and then unload your shotgun bullets into him, the fight becomes quite simple, but there's enough variance in his moveset that you might have some difficulties parrying those hits, and he's quite fast. And if you want a bonus plus to him on the difficulty side, the amount of the HP he has, the fight will be quite long, and you might get a bit tired, let's just say, of fighting him and make more mistakes in a fight, which you will get punished severely.
By my master, the power of God. Stage is set for the final act.
In the 6th spot, I have Ramon Salazar, and I think the reason he's here is because of the arena and his spit attack. I think the arena and his spit attacks are kind of random, which are quite difficult to dodge, and they're quite punishing. If not for that, he would be much lower on the list. But without, of course, shooting an RPG at him or throwing a golden egg, if you actually try to fight him fairly, his spit attack and where he positions himself, I think earns him the spot at number 6.
Starts right now. Nah. Time for the teacher to be taught. Oh, such confidence. Bring it, rookie!
In the 5th spot, I have Jack Krauser, and I think this fight should be. I really wanted to put lower, but he has one attack that I just couldn't deflect. And either it's a bug or I just didn't realize how I should be dodging it, but it made the fight much more difficult because I just didn't find a counterplay. So I just played around it so I would just eat that only attack and have enough heals to just out-survive him. Let's put it that way. And yeah, the same way, because of there being no counterplay, it was quite an annoying boss fight for me. But that one stupid move puts him really high on this list.
God, I thank you for your gift.
You want to get ugly? Let's get ugly.
In the 4th spot, I have Bitores Mendes, and for a boss that's quite early in the game, it's probably for some of you quite a surprise, but this fight has 2 phases, and I'm just gonna say the first phase is really simple. You just deflect, shoot him, then stun him, stab him with a knife, and he dies quite fast. But the second phase, there's actually a lot of stuff going on, and I think there's so much stuff going on that you get overstimulated, and you don't know what to do, get confused maybe, and just die. At least in my case, I died quite a few times to the second phase because of how much stuff was going on. Like, you can go up, he can throw barrels that can explode and you need to shoot him before he throws them at you. He can come up close to you and try melee hit you, and I think especially for me, that this is like the first game in Resident Evil series that is more action heavy that I played. to me, I just wasn't prepared and kind of got my ass handed to it. And because of this phase, he goes up in the 4th spot.
Can't stand the clingy type. Time to end this for good.
In the 3rd spot, I have U3 or Pisanta. And this is, of course, from the DLC, Separate Ways. And what an improvement of a boss fight this was. I really enjoyed this one. And just in case, I'm just gonna tell you, even though you get in some boss fights a save after going to the 2nd phase of the boss fight, I'm ranking the entire boss fight in the difficulty. And this fight, the 1st phase is manageable. I think it's still hard, as difficult as all the below fights, like Betora Mendes, Jack Rouser. That's the difficulty, but it's manageable. But when he goes to the 2nd phase, I think this is where the fight becomes quite complex, especially he can go underground, he's quite fast, there's less windows to punish him, because you need to, of course, dodge or deflect his hits. There's poison that you have to run around the arena. I think the fight is just an enjoyable and a really good difficulty. This is kind of the difficulty I wanted, and this is the first fight that kind of doesn't have anything that really makes it hard, like maybe some fights below, but just overall is more of a jump up in difficulty. In the 2nd spot, I have Osmond Sadler from Separate Ways, the final fight. And to be honest, this fight just kinda punishes you if you're too slow to react. Like a lot of his attacks are quite fast, and there's like kind of 4 buildings around the arena that you can just, some attacks are unblockable and you have to hide behind them. And this fight, at least to me, kind of came in the scenario where I didn't have a lot of ammunition, so it was quite difficult to beat him. And I think overall, as a fight, it's one of those kind of annoying fights where if you're being too slow, or if you're being greedy to kill the boss faster, it punishes you by quite a lot.
To become one with us. You require absolution.
In the 1st spot, I have Osmond Sandler, the final fight of the main game. And I think even though Resident Evil is kind of known for having the easiest final boss fights, for me this one was the most difficult. And it's mainly because of the little flying creatures that it spawns in the 1st phase. Now the actual fight is not that hard, like it's somewhere in the top 5 in this game and simple, but the flying creatures actually make it quite annoying, and you have to kill them. And they're annoying creatures that give you enough problems where you have to kill them. And by having you to kill them, you switch your focus onto them, then the boss becomes harder and all this stuff. But after you kill the 1st phase of this boss fight, you get thrown into the 2nd phase. Now thankfully you get a save before that, because it would be a mental boss fight. But you go down onto this platform and there's 2 tentacles that have certain things that you have to do. They either gonna swing at you, then you need to use a QTE event, press it fast enough to dodge, or they come from one of the sides and then you have to run to the certain side to dodge them. Hopefully that made sense. And that took me probably the most attempts to figure out, probably because most of the fights are just straightforward, just use some kind of mechanic and then kill them. Whereas this one you actually have to a bit think and figure out where to stand for a certain attack, which made, if you look at the fight overall, this is the hardest fight phase in the game. And because the first phase is difficult enough, the second phase carries this boss fight to the first spot. And if you disagree or agree, tell me in the comments. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.